So the Packers, when they inevitably start playing, if we live that long to enjoy it, me and the rest of us collectively, 5 of their final 7 games are against NFC North teams. And when I saw that, the first thing I thought, Chris, NFC North, hard knocks, full division, because that was the issue last year. The Steelers, they don't play a division game until week 11, and then the next thing you know, boom, that's the division that's been pre-selected for hard knocks. I think the team in the leader house, as a wise man says often, would be not the team, but the division, the NFC North.
Maybe you're right, Mike. Maybe that's why it is that way. It'll be interesting. Green Bay, as we know, I think are still one of the more talented teams in football. I look at them and still go, I think they're in the Super Bowl window right now. I think they've kind of been forgotten a little bit because Jordan Love didn't play his best football last year, dealing with injuries and never really getting in the groove we saw 2 years ago. So that's going to be big this year. But you look at the rest of that football team, there's not too many questions. Receiver, can Matthew Golden help them out? Because we know Christian Watson's got an injury. But, hey, it's a team that I think we saw on the field twice with the Eagles last year and went, they're not physically outmatched here by any stretch of the imagination. They are really good. But, yeah, they're a young football team who played young in some big moments last year. And hopefully this year they're a little more mature and battle-tested and they can make a run in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean, they took the Eagles all the way to the limit in the first Friday night game of the season.
Yeah.
And then in the playoffs, the Eagles were sluggish. And the Eagles won a game that maybe against a better opponent that night they would have lost.
Right.
They just didn't seem to be as with it as they needed to be. Here's LaFleur, coach of the Packers from last week, with Chris about Jordan Love and the reality that last year wasn't as good as it was the year before.
It all comes back down to just him understanding the intent of why we're calling every play. And that's what a lot of our time in the offseason is dedicated to, is like, hey, why are we calling this? What are we looking for? What happens if we don't get the premier looks? Where are we going to go with the ball? I mean, there was some situations last year, I think, that we didn't see a ton of two-man, but there was a couple games where we got two-man and you got a crap play called for that. It's like, hey, what is your answer to that? And it might be, well, I got to try to find an exit angle and take off and run.
Right.
And I do think that just everything he went through last year, it kind of limited some of his ability to make, maybe whether it's an off-schedule play or using his legs to really attack a defense.
One of the criticisms that I know I had, and I think you did too, of the Packers, they let him back onto the field sooner than he should have returned. He was back too quickly from a knee injury that looked like a season ender when it happened. Remember, we could see something in the knee move during that slow motion. Something seemed seriously wrong. Malik Willis came in and played well. And it's like, Jordan, they're not going to bench you for Malik Willis. They just gave you $55 million a year. You're not going to get Tom Brady'd by Malik Willis. Take your time and get healthy. But I felt like he was determined to get back. He had a groin injury that he fought through against the Jaguars, that by the time he eventually lipped off, it was like, man, he's going to miss some time. He came back from that. So this is what happens. Players will play through injury. They will be determined, they will be focused, they will be motivated, but they will not be the same guy because they are injured.
No, you're exactly right. They weren't. And I think because he had the big contract, he wants to justify that and be the leader of the team, and he loves football. And he's loved in the locker room, so that's a special thing. And I think he wants to be out there for his guys. I think what you're talking about, he saw Malik Willis and went, this guy's got a little talent. Like, I don't know if I want him out there too many weeks in a row, right? Even though, to your point, I mean, they weren't going to bench him fresh off a new contract there. But as a competitor, you still don't want to see the backup having too much success at your expense while you're sitting over there. That does put more pressure when you get back in there. So he wanted to be a part of that. But like you're talking about, Mike, when you're dealing with those type of injuries, okay, now Wednesday practice comes along. Hey, you're a young player who hasn't had a ton of reps yet as a starter. Oh, now you don't really get to practice fully. You might do a few of the individual drills, but because you're banged up, they don't want you out there when the full team is out there, whatever. So you go through a few weeks of missing Wednesday and Thursday practices, and then you get in the game and you're a little off, right? And that's what I think we saw consistently last year. A little off from lack of reps during the week and throwing the ball and being crisp crisp as far as decisions and placement of the football. And then, yeah, a little off. And I think what Matt LaFleur was talking about, in when you don't get those reps, you're not as sharp mentally. And you might, lose sight of, hey, I got to drill that on Wednesday. Coach told me why he was calling that play. But when you're not the one in there doing it in practice, you might forget on Sunday when the play gets called all of a sudden there, and things get lost in translation. So hopefully they can iron some of that stuff out here in Green Bay.
And he's a guy whose contract, as a practical matter, had a 3-year commitment. So he's got 2 years left. The earliest practical out for the Packers would be after the 2026 season. And look, this is how it goes. You got to live up to your deal. You got to live up to your deal unless it's fully guaranteed, like Deshaun Watson's, which is never going to happen again. So Love has some security, but he's going to have to get back to more of what he was in 2023 when he earned that contract if he wants to be the long-term guy. And, based on his first year, we felt like the Packers had pulled off the Favre to Rodgers to Love, and the sky was the limit. After last year, it's just kind of like, which way is this going to go?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Where is he? Has he hit his ceiling? Which way is this going to go? Can he stay healthy? Because even if we say, well, he struggled last year because of the injuries, well, the best quarterbacks don't get injured. The best quarterbacks find a way to stay at 100%. The best quarterbacks, yada, yada, yada. So that's part of this, too. You got to be available, you got to be effective, and you got to keep bringing it to build your legacy. I mean, there's 32 teams, and there's, let's say 12 really good quarterbacks. Is that fair? 12 that are really good? Well, only one Super Bowl. Only one is going to advance his legacy in a dramatic way, and it's hard to stay among the best of the best. And this is Jordan Love's, I think, moment to either step up and declare himself one of the best, or just be, which we said earlier, there's no shame in it, a middle-of-the-pack guy.
Right. I'm expecting to go with option A, what you said to start. I think this is a guy that's got untapped potential. I see some special attributes about the player. Hey, you say what you want, even though last year was underwhelming, right? It's 2 years, it's 2 playoff appearances as him at the helm. And under, of course, Matt LaFleur, who I will say is the most underrated coach in football. I mean, all he's done is deal with issues in Green Bay, and they're just competitive and towards the top of the league every year. But, yeah, the big thing this year is, I think, exactly what you're saying, Mike. Can they bring Jordan to Love back to what we saw 2 years ago late in the year? Can he take that next step, go to that next level, whatever you want to talk about, with being surgical, consistently surgical, because he's got the big play ability. The one thing you love about Jordan Love is he will stand in the pocket and he will push the ball down the field. And that's what made him special at the end of the year 2 years ago when they made that run and they went into Dallas and whooped the crap out of the Cowboys in the wild card game, is explosive plays down the field. That was the refreshing thing from him taking over for Aaron Rodgers. It was dink and dunk. Jordan Love was like, nope, I'm going to sit here and wait for that 30-yard completion. And it's made them dangerous. But now, hey, I think what we saw and what LaFleur was probably saying in that answer there is we don't always need to look for that. Every now and then I'm calling this play because a 2nd and 5 is good, right? If that big play just pops up because it's something that we've talked about that's just this unique circumstance, fine, do that. But I'm calling this play because I want to be in 2nd and 5. And then I have a play or two off of this that I'm going to tie together as the game goes, and we'll gash them at some other point, right? And I think that's what maybe got lost in translation a little with Jordan Love last year, with the lack of reps, the injury, and the stuff you kind of were alluding to a few minutes ago, Mike.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.